On the line right now, standing by, is the one and only John Zogby. John, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, it is 16 months before the congressional election, before Election Day. And already we're in the middle of a heated battle for Congress here. It's crazy. I just want your take, if you don't mind. I know you're not on for this, but if you don't mind, on the USA Today thing and going down the road of Anthony's father and the Italian thing.
I'm pretty stunned by it. And Anthony has his own public record, and that can be judged by voters. His father has his own public record, which is well documented. Totally inappropriate to bring it up in a campaign as if it matters. Anthony has been around long enough that he should be judged on his own merits, just as Claudia Tenney should be as well. And Anthony should not raise any issues about Justice Tenney's reputation as a justice.
Right.
So this is very sad. That means with all this time to go, you're going to see about $60 million spent in this district. By November, October or so of 2018, we're going to be begging for Billy Fusillo and Raymore and Flanagan to be back.
You are so right. It is going to be, the money that is going to be spent on this. Strategy. I'm trying in my head, other than Claudia Tenney just cannot help it. She cannot help herself. And I called her last hour a very mean woman at times. And I stand by that statement. I've been on the other side of that before. But political strategy. The only thing I could think is you're 16 months out, and you're going to get it out there so the story exists, and people will forgive you. She has plenty of time to I think this is going to hurt her. I think this hurts her in the district. She'll have plenty of time to recover. She has 16 months. What do you think? Is that...
Well, it'll pass if she lets it go.
Right.
But I'm going to endorse what you just said about her, and I think it's part of her DNA to not let it go.
Yeah.
She's going to continue to raise it. Now, let's look at the implications. You already saw in today's paper Mr. Pipparata's comments. There happen to be a hell of a lot of Italian Americans. That doesn't help. Anthony has been elected to the Assembly by landslides each time that he's run. He's got a bevy of supporters. She has a bevy of opponents. I don't see where this sort of thing is a wise political strategy at all. She won, a year and a half ago or a year ago or so in a three-way race.
Yeah.
She, this time, has to get 50 plus 1%. I just don't see this happening.
And if I can add, too, she's not acting like an incumbent here.
No.
This is mind-boggling. This is just so not the way, so unbecoming of a sitting congressperson. It's just...
there's either two things going on, or both. One is she can't help herself.
Right.
The other is they have a private poll out showing that she's 15 points behind.
Yeah. And
she's desperate. And that's the only way either one or actually both of those interpretations.
I think it could be both, I guess. Very well could be.
And John, you made the point about the commercials. I feel like as voters we go through stages too where we want to know what everyone's thinking or will they say this, and then by the end of it we're like, I'm so sick of these attack ads. I almost wonder if it's beneficial for him to keep raising this issue to say, look, this was her first jab at me and it was a low blow, about my family.
I think he handled it well, and I think he moves on. Frankly, given this district, I think he has the issues on his side.
I also felt that I thought his answers. He gave an answer to us because we tackled this when she was on, and did this with the Fred Dicker show in Albany.
Right.
And I thought I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "I love my father. My mother died when I was young, and my father raised me. He's my father." I love him, and he's great to my kids, and et cetera, et cetera. I thought that was a good answer. The other was attacking somebody's family never... well, I forgot what his quote was, or maybe it was his campaign manager's quote, but I think he's handling it well, and he keeps going back to the issues. He really does. And then going back to her record, which I think is important.
Well, look, Mr. Louis Brindisi is well known in this community. Controversial figure. Aren't a hell of a lot of us controversial figures, but he has a lot of well-wishers out there himself. I just don't see, strictly from political strategy, where this gains her at all.
Yeah. We're going to play the audio of the interview with USA Today. We'll do that right after 7:35. All right. Why I had you on is two things, of course. We'll go to the president in a second. But first, you do a lot of research on these groups and young people and tribes, if you will.
Yeah.
Meet Neo Tribe, the God Squad. What is that? Is there a resurgence in people who really are strong, have strong religious beliefs?
Not so much a resurgence as a stabilization, but the thing that's important about it is that we're trying to go beyond simple demographics to understand people. And so this God Squad is multi-religion, obviously Christian, we see it, but also Jewish and Muslim and African American and white and Latino, etc. And so it is a shared commonality among this tribe to be dominated by their faith, illuminated by their faith. And so this is, we just released our portrait of this God Squad. Couple of things that are important. It informs their lives and their votes. That's number one. But number two, they can intersect with a few tribes. There's an intersection between them and tribes that you wouldn't ordinarily think would intersect with them. The happy hedonists, for example, the adventurous, the creators even. So there are overlaps between these tribes. I'm trying to redefine an America where there are commonalities, and where the tribes are based on like interests, but that doesn't preclude them from working with and cooperating with others. Commonalities,
boy. It seems like that word doesn't even exist anymore, but you're finding reasons to use it, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and that's where the essence of leadership, not only in the world of politics, more importantly in the world of business.
Yeah,
ruling out two people from working together on the same team, when in reality, there could be areas, common languages and values that they do share. All
right. Finally, I would be foolish if I didn't have you speak on last week, the President's Week last week. Mm-hmm. The Don Jr. stuff, the emails finally coming out, the denial, then admission. Where is this going? How did the President fare?
Well, like most things, he doesn't fare well with it. Is so long as it dominates the headlines, so long as there's email proof that his son and team were not totally truthful about any meetings with Russians. By the same token, I've got to think that Americans get tired of government by investigation. Because at the same time, whether you're measuring the president's record or even up to today, Congress's record, what are they exactly getting done?
Yeah.
And that becomes troublesome. I described for a group the other day that with a 36% job approval rating, people are now getting disappointed with the person that they elected because they were disappointed.
Right. It's just a crazy time. The New York Times had an interview, maybe it was MSNBC. Somebody did a piece on the lying in politics and how Trump's base still stands strong. And they do so because they admit, yes, there's been lying, but all politicians lie. He's our liar. And, for Democrats, is Bill Clinton their liar? Is that what's going on right now?
Yeah, essentially. When you really like someone, whether it's ideologically or personally, you give them all sorts of excuses. I recall very well that there were nuns back in the late 90s telling me, oh, so what if the President of the United States has a dalliance here or there? He works hard.
Yeah.
They liked Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
They gave him an excuse that they would never give
Right.
to somebody else.
It's John Zogby, Zogby International. John, as always, John Zogby Strategies, I should say.
That's right.
John, as always, thanks so much. We'll talk again.
Look forward to it, Bill.
Right.
Thanks.
We'll break. Come right back.